So we are so excited to have you here today. This is the first, well, actually kind of our first official webinar that we're doing in our first Wednesdays at 1 PAYS webinar series. And we're going to walk you through today, talking to you a little bit about how to engage and recruit around PAYS. Going to give you a little bit of information about where we are with registration and some things like that, but we're really excited to have you here. This has been a little bit of a passion project for everyone. We've really gone through in the past month, made a lot of progress as far as registration goes and all, and we're excited to share that information with you. We are going to give you a lot of information and gather a lot of Q&A questions in the chat as Sophia shared. We'll stop throughout to ask you some questions or kind of share or gather your questions, and we'll share those as we go. But we will give a little bit of time in the end to have some time together just to share some questions. But please be sure, I see the polling is going there. We've got a couple of different polls. Again, this is how we will take attendance. It's something new that we're trying out here just to see how it works out. I don't know if you've done attendance this way in other Zooms, but we are going to try it to see how it works here so we can see who all we have in the room. But we have a lot of education folks so far, which is good to see. So we'll kind of keep tabs on that, and we'll leave that open for a few minutes. So today, I just want to introduce myself and my colleagues that are going to be working together throughout the course of the next hour. I'm Phyllis Law. I'm with EPIS at Penn State. We're part of the Prevention Research Center there. I'm a senior systems change specialist. I do a lot of work with PAYS. I know many of you, I saw many names that I have the honor and pleasure of working with already throughout the state, but I also saw many names I don't know. So it's always exciting to see new people who are getting familiar with PAYS. I'd also like to introduce, I'm looking at Sophia down here on my screen. If you can give us a wave. Sophia welcomed us, and she's so vital to our staff here at EPIS. She helps us with our training and does so much behind the scenes. And we also have Kelsey Kraft, and Kelsey, if you can give us a wave as well. She's with Bach Harrison, and Bach Harrison is an extended member of our PAYS family that absolutely we could not do it without Bach Harrison. They are the PAYS administrator, and they are the premier administrator in the nation for survey administration. And I will tell you, I have worked with a lot of contractors in my time, but they are top-notch people. We work so great with them, and we cannot thank them enough. And Kelsey's here. She's going to be helping us behind the scenes, but she's also going to be here to help answer questions from kind of that Bach Harrison side of the house. So excited to be here, all three of us today, and we're going to be working together. But I first just want to take a minute to say thank you again for being a part of this series, for registering for the series. Again, this is the first one. I'll end this afternoon by telling you the other topics that we have come up, and we'll talk a little bit more about what this looks like. Again, something new we're trying, the idea of kind of almost having, registering for this series and kind of seeing how it looks, what it looks like. For this year, we will be offering a monthly offering. Next year, with it being an off year, we may only do bi-monthly, not sure yet. But one thing that we do know is that we want to offer you things that are interesting to you and interesting topics that help you build your skills around PAYS. So we're excited to have you here, and we hope you keep coming back. So that's one thing we definitely want to have happen. So today, what we're going to talk about PAYS registration, what it looks like today, as also what it looks like yesterday and historically. We're going to share a little bit about that. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about registration currently as what it looked like as compared to 2019. And I might try to get a few of y'all to do a little bit of outreach for us, because we still have a little bit of room to go to meet some of our thresholds of registration from 2021. We're then going to go and talk a little bit about some of the tips and tricks for recruitment and school engagement around and school district engagement when it comes around PAYS engagement. And then we're going to talk about some new things that are coming out around PAYS for 2021. So kind of running the gamut, kind of putting a lot of new things out there, and we hope we're going to share some new things with you today. So as of October 4th, that would be Monday, our numbers are looking really good. I have to say, when we first started talking pays, that would have been like for 2021, we really started digging into pays that that we were, kind of going, our schools, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? How are they going to feel about pays next fall? Because, COVID, we were deep in the throes of it and we didn't really know. And we have 392 of the 500 school districts registered as of Monday. Non-traditional schools, we have 48, and you can see the breakdown there. And by non-traditional, we mean charter, private, those CTC schools. So we're doing pretty well. Based on, as compared to last year, we had 414 districts that participated. So we're in that space. We're not too far off of our total. However, we still have a little work to do. Okay, we still are looking in that space of looking at where else, where else do we need to go? So, one thing, sorry about that. One thing that you'll see some links in here, and these are live links. So you will be able to go and take a look at these when you receive your, as Sophia said, you're going to receive a copy of this when you, once the presentation's over, you will get a copy of this. So this is a list of all of the participating districts from 2019. It's a link, it's online. You can click on it, it's on the PCCD website. So if you want to see who participated, take a look at it because it's listed there. But I'm going to give you a list of those, and we're going to talk a little bit about 2019. So one of the things that we did this year that was a little bit different, one of the things that Box Harrison helps us with and does such a great job is school district outreach. Now this year we did a little bit differently because we have been very, very sensitive to COVID and kind of what districts are going through, because things had to be handled a little bit differently. I mean, typically we start outreach back in February, of the year of if we're doing pays in the fall, we would start reaching out for registration in the February before, are you interested, are you signing up, things like that. School districts, they were just trying to keep their head above water. They were just trying to get from one day to the next, right? Because we were still deep in the throes of the pandemic at that point. So we held off and we didn't really know, what outreach was going to look like. So we sent the first letter out in May and we said, hey, how it's happening, because people were starting to ask, are we doing it? Are we not? And the cool thing was we were really excited about, people wanted to know, school districts were reaching out. And because initially, as I was saying, when we first started our planning cycle for pays, we just really didn't know. Were schools going to say, we don't have time for it, we don't need it, what's it going to do? We just didn't know. Well, we really were excited to see that districts were interested. We then sent out another outreach with an updated superintendent list in August, because one of the things we did find that between May and August, the state saw one of the largest turnovers in district level leadership. And it was unprecedented in the turnover. So we worked with PDE, we got an updated list. We sent another outreach to districts. We got a lot more districts to sign up. So another really cool thing that has happened that we are really excited about is this year, and one of the things we think really helped with registration was it's all done online. And if you're not familiar, and if your district has not signed up yet, you don't have to go through the process of signing a paper and then scanning it in and emailing it in. It's all done online now. So what I'm going to do, and I'm hoping this is going to work, my computer has been acting a little bit funny here. You're going to click on this link and it's going to take you to an Airtable. And again, I have got to give a lot of props to our friends over at, I'm going to stop my share here for 1 second, but I want to take you over to an Airtable that actually shows you the, actually, I'm going to shoot that down here, and it shows you the new registration form. And so let me find y'all back again. I love having two screens, but I have to move everybody around and keep finding y'all, right? So what this table does, for those of you who haven't registered yet, the cool thing is everything is right in front of you. And a school district can go on. You can see here, are we participating? Do we, here's our coordinator name. Everything is a one-stop shop. You can see here, are we doing online surveying? Are we doing paper pencil? And you're going to see in the presentation, this is very, it's always been important, but this year it's even more important. Would we like to share with others? All of the information is captured in one spot. Okay. The other thing is that while we, and once the superintendent fills this out, and when they get to the bottom, you'll see here, the form was electronically signed, and when they put in a date there and they hit submit, that district is ready to go. The other cool thing that happens is that once the district registers, we then have a form, another Airtable, really cool technology. Thank you, Buck Harrison, has created a live table that you can check on registration. Every time a district registers, there is a table that you can click to see which districts are registered. So I'm going to click on this table again, okay, or on this link. And what we're going to see here, again, this is going to take you to another table. And I'm going to share my screen again so you can see what this looks like. And this is what you're going to see. This is a live table of every district that has replied and responded to the survey. Okay, this tells you the name of the name of the district, the county, what type, are they a school district, are they non-traditional school, charter school, whatever that may look like. Here's the county. Are they participating? We have had a couple of, only very small handful of districts who have replied that they are not, and actually it's no districts that have replied, it's only a handful of charter schools or private schools that have replied. They're also, what kind of surveying are they going to do, paper, pencil, or online surveying? Vast majority are online. We'll give you that number here in a minute. It also tells you who can get the report. And this is also very important because you need to know this, especially if you work outside of a district and you're looking to get that information. And it also asks the question, where did your students, how did they operate as far as the school year last year? Because we're trying to collect a little bit of information about, so we can do some comparison data as far as how the schools were operating. This tool, this Airtable stays, as I said, current. As soon as a district registered, this Airtable is connected to the registration form and it is automatically updated. If you recall in the past, you would have to reach out, or we would have to put a form online and it would have to be updated. So you never, it wasn't always updated. So we really, this is something, probably one of the best things that we have absolutely put online. We have gotten great feedback about how handy this has been. So really encourage you to take a look at this. All of this information can be found at this website. This is the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, PCCD's website. They are the lead agency for PAYS, but we have the Pennsylvania Department of Education, Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. They are the three lead agencies that work together very, very closely to make sure that the PAYS is the resources that are there to ensure that the PAYS is every year is put out there, orchestrated, and everybody takes it, and all the reports are put out and everything. So check out that website, and I'll give you that website again later on. So one of the things that's also cool on that site, and this is the actual link, there is a historical PAYS participation interactive maps that are there. Those of you who are like GSI mappers, and y'all know who you are out there. I know there's a lot of people who really love these, and these maps are really, really cool because when you go through these maps, you can see from one year to the next as PAYS is being adopted throughout the state, and you can see how the different levels and the maps are broken down by these different levels. You know, the different legislative levels, the intermediate levels, also the county different boundaries are all outlined. Also, when you click on your area for the later years, you can get information like you know, the grades that are participated and also participation rates. So if you've never taken a look at these maps, I have to say, take a minute and just click on this, and it's a really cool outline of how your district has evolved and the rates of participation. So definitely take a look at that. And the reason I kind of went there, and over the course of the next couple of slides here, I want you to take just a minute. I know this is a lot of words on a slide, and I'm breaking every presentation rule out there by putting too many words, but I wanted to, we've done a little bit of analysis of looking at school districts that have historically participated in PAYS, and most specifically, have registered, or I'm sorry, participated in 2019, but have not yet registered for this year. And this is as of the 1st of October, okay? And then I'm gonna leave these slides up, and I want you to just kind of take a look at, they're sorted by county, and you can see their the X's are by the 19, 17, and 15 participation years. And what we're looking for is your assistance. If you know someone, or if you can help us with some outreach in these areas, to at least, you know, say, hey, we know you've participated in the past, you know, and just to kind of see if maybe they're waiting for their school district to, or I'm sorry, their school board to meet, maybe they need approvals, maybe, you know, to see, you know, why they haven't responded yet, just to kind of check things out. All of the counties are in alphabetical order, and over the course of the next 3 slides, you're going to see those districts that are outstanding. So let's just take a minute and take a look here to see where we still need a little bit of work. And see these areas. This is through Clearfield County. You can take a look here. Moving on to the next area. This takes us from Fayette County down through Venango County. And for those of you who, if you would like to have some assistance in reaching out, I'll say this again later on, but we are absolutely here to help you with that outreach. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks, but definitely want to, you know, help where we can, especially, and I will say for these districts like in this area that have, you know, have participated in all 3, you know, historically have always participated. We definitely would like to have them to continue with this participation. So right now we're looking, and I have to tell you, I had a very long day yesterday, but I did some quick math last night, and it looks like we have about 58 districts that have not participated, and 33 of those have participated since 15. So some of those numbers I think are adding up, but anyway, we've got a pretty good list here that we still need to reach out to. That we still need to do some you know, getting them registered. So again, really would like you to take a minute and definitely do some outreach. Maybe you can even, and we will say, we had a discussion internally, even if they can go ahead and go online, and even if their response is that we are not going to participate, at least we know they're responding. That's something that at least we can kind of get a sense of what's happening. And I think one of the things that we definitely are, you know, hoping to just kind of see where things are going. We are, you know, hoping to do some outreach to some of our contacts locally with some of this list as well. But I want to stop here for a minute and to pose a question. And I want to make sure I open up my chat because I want to see. So just as a kind of a big question, of any of these numbers or information or anything I just shared, was it surprising, interesting? Did you find it like, did it kind of make you go, this is interesting? And I see in the chat box that there already are some comments here. That definitely great. Thank you, Smithy. You have a personal connection. Thank you there. And Burl, I'm going through these quickly. Most surprising that the 2 largest cities in PA are still not participating. Lee Rush, you're absolutely right about that. I will say, we're still trying to work on that. The number of schools that have not participated, that is a little bit, we're still working on that. I mean, you figure historically when I first started working with PAYS about 11 years ago, we only had about 150 districts participating. And now last year, we were up to about 416. So of the 500, we're getting there. We still got a little ways to go. So, that Denise, your comment about, I'm guessing that COVID, sorry, I'm trying to go through my chats, spinning so quickly here. I would like to see more non-publics. Debbie, that was one of the things we were going to try to work on this year, but again, COVID has we've been just trying to keep up with everything and get everybody. That is something we are hoping to work on in the future. Are you hearing reasoning behind, Janice asked a question, are you hearing reasoning behind why some districts are opting in? We haven't heard any reasoning yet. We are hoping, and one of the things we are thinking, Janice, is that we're hoping that maybe some district school boards haven't met yet, and that we're hoping they're just waiting to get it approved and they're going to register. That's our fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping will happen. We just don't know yet, but we have a feeling it is COVID related. Some districts are still just trying to figure it out day to day. Some are going remote, some are not, some are high, it's just all over the place. When you're working with 500 districts, there's 500 ways of doing 500 different things, so we're hoping to get there. But overall, I have to say, and I will speak for myself here, and I'll overall, even with the PAYS advisory group, we're pleased, with the number. The people who are involved are excited to get the data, and that's the part that we really are glad to hear about, because we were concerned at first that people, the initial thought was, we don't need this data, it's not going to tell us anything. But that's not what we're hearing now, and people are saying we do need this data. They know that the mental health piece is important. They know that they're already seeing the signs. They know that we're having to move forward and really trying to get some information of what we need to know, and how COVID is really affecting the world where we're moving forward. And I'm not a big advocate of the term new normal, but the reality is this is our normal now, right? We're having to figure out where we're going from here, right? And what things are going to look like for our future. So I'm just thrilled with the districts that we have. And, our hope is that with your help that we can get a few more on board. And for those districts who are engaged and have signed on, they're, to use a probably overused term, they're in it to win it. And I think that they'll use the data that we're going to provide for them. And we're excited about that. So moving forward, and any of the other questions, I see a couple of more questions here possibly coming in, and we'll make sure we address those towards the end, but I want to move forward. And so we're going to go through a few tips and tricks, just some things to think about when you're reaching out to your districts. And, one of the things that we have really found that, is really this kind of mindful approach when you're reaching out to your districts, right? And it's whether it's about engagement or recruitment, for PAYS, but even just engaging them in this conversation, whether it's this conversation of, why haven't you registered yet? Because I thought this was a really good kind of graphic, because it really is this balancing act. They're trying to balance a lot of things right now, because of course districts, they want to know information about what their students are saying and feeling, and they want the information that PAYS provides. It's certainly that districts don't want to know about that, But on the other hand, they have pandemic pressures, they've got academic pressures, they've got the financial pressures that everything that's been going on for the past 18 months are bringing. They've got administration pressures of new leadership coming on board, new school board members, new public opinions. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, y'all have seen this, and I don't care where you're coming from. So the reality is when you're reaching out, it needs to be sensitive in wording and as well as your timing. And the art of persuasion is very much based on the fact of saying the right thing to the right people at the right time in the right way, right? No matter what it is that you're trying, whether it's your child asking to go to Disney, right? Or, you asking your school district, have you considered? There's a lot of, there's an art to try to get people to sway them in a different way. And we're not really here to talk about all of that today, but really, getting in that space of realizing that these districts have a lot on their plate, and, getting them to really think about. What I want to do is kind of pose some questions for you to consider before your conversation begins with them. And the first thing is to really think about, what are the changes that have taken place before at the school board level and the district level. And I just mentioned to you that last year was the most unprecedented change in school board members, school district school personnel at the administration level, superintendent level, than at least from what we were told at the PDE level, than we have ever seen. Very large, very wide. So when that kind of change happens, it's big, right? So everybody's just trying to figure it all out again, right? Then you couple that with all of the other things that are continuing to happen, and it's still all this newness is still happening with all of the change that continues to happen. So those of you who know group dynamic, the forming, storming, norming, all of that, that's still got to happen, because those groups have got to come back together, relationships have to happen, and all of that happens. So the reality is when those kinds of changes happen, we have to be sure that if those new policymakers and decision makers have changed at that level, you don't know what their thoughts are about PAYS. You don't know how they feel about data. You don't know how they feel about, the questions asked on PAYS. So asking that question first, and if they have changed, you need to find out are they aware of PAYS? Do they even know what's included? So when you know those answers, you can go in, with that information, prepared to share that information with them. And all of that information, I'm going to take you to that website. You can find, the information you need to answer the questions. Same thing, but at a little bit different space. Have the decision makers changed at the school level, because the school level is where obviously where the survey is given, right? So if you have a school principal he wants the PAYS, he loves the PAYS, and he really gets in there and gets everyone excited about and gets those teachers to really understand how important the PAYS is, right? And how do you get teachers, to really understand or to get excited about the PAYS, so they don't feel like this is just one more thing I have to do. You need to let them know what's going to, what's the data used for? Why is this important to the school? Why is this important to the district? How can they use the data, right? One of those things that we always have to remember, information is power. So if those decisions makers at the school level have changed, you need to talk to them too, because they're at that level of administration. So if they have changed, be prepared to talk to them as well. The third bullet there, so are there a lot of new teachers there? And maybe they don't know about the surveying, right? Maybe they don't know about PAYS. So if that's the case, see if you can go in and you can talk to them directly, right? And share some information, or share an email, or just send an email that talks about the PAYS. Again, information is power. And so answering these kinds of questions, the first three are really about change in personnel. And change in personnel can change the dynamic around PAYS very, very drastically, right? Especially if you have school board members who have changed. Unfortunately, I was work district in particular, they went from doing the PAYS no problem, school board members changed, things got a little bit sideways, they weren't sure if they were going to do it, Well, unfortunately, it went forward, but they had to do some work and they had to educate their members on what PAYS was about because they didn't know, and it went forward, but they got ahead of it. They knew to expect that. So that's kind of what this is about, okay? Going on to the fourth bullet here, thinking about, and I don't know how applicable this will be, all, you know, because things kind of shift day to day a little bit, but really understanding, will some students, you know, what kind of modality will the students be, you know, are they some going to be, is everybody in the classroom, or are they going to be in a hybrid space, some at home, some in the classroom, you know, or is everybody remotely? Are they on A schedule, B schedule, C schedule? I mean, everybody was doing it so differently. The key is that how's the school going to accommodate this, right? You know, have they taken a minute to go, oh, are we going to do it here and do it there, right? One of the things I will say, Kelsey and her team are here to help districts with that. And if you know a district that's kind of in a space where they're not sure what that's going to look like, reach out. How, you know, you can reach out or have your district reach out. You know, Kelsey and Mary, who we work with so closely, we gladly will help share ideas. Buck Harrison works all over the nation, and they have a wealth of information of what's worked on the ground. So absolutely, you know, how it's going to work, you know, especially if you have a district that students are going to be surveying at home, as an example, they have lots of great ideas that can assist with that. So really thinking about that is important. Another thing to think about, and one best practice we always try to say, is to keep, you know, administering in that same time frame that you always have. As an example, you know, if you've always surveyed you know, within the month of September, always try to survey that same timeline so that your data stays, you know, in that, you know, has the potential to stay in that same, that trend data can stay as sound as possible, right, across time. Well, we realize we're in unprecedented times and things may happen. But the one thing that you want to not, you know, to really be sure not to do is don't, you know, try not to, or at least suggest to your district to try not to survey like the week after homecoming, right? Because we know homecoming can bring along some undesired behaviors that we in our adolescence, right? Or to do it, you know, possibly after a long weekend, or, you know, after there's, you know, kids are away on vacation, so that some of those behaviors can change, right? That would not be the same. So thinking about this, when the administration window, if it's a little bit different, things are going to happen in a different time frame, something that maybe the school hasn't really thought about, but something that you can help, you know, going into the district, if you know when they're going to be administering, and you know that some of these maybe, again, opportunity that, you know, it's going to be a long weekend, families are going to be away, it's going to be after a homecoming, or, you know, maybe even a big football game with a rival team, that can change some of those youth behaviors as well. So some of those things to kind of think about as well. So, and I think, again, this is just kind of giving you some questions to explore, because this is going to help just kind of you kind of seeing the forest for the trees. Sometimes I think school districts, just sometimes it helps them just think a little bit outside the box. And this last question that's listed here is one that, you know, I think a lot of districts are like, oh, what's this going to do to our longitudinal data? Well, the reality is that, you know, this is the new data, right? This is the new data set. And this is what our kids are saying about right now. And as I said before, you know, I don't like the new normal term particularly, but this is our new real. And this is where we're going to go from here. And, you know, this is not about in your strategic planning that, you know, oh my gosh, you're going to have to change everything and all your goals are going to change. And that's not necessarily what this is about. But what it is about is to go back and to say, this is what our kids are saying today. And this is how they're feeling, and this is what they're bringing to the table. So when you're looking at the data, because remember, this data is here for school districts to help them build better learning environments, help them to plan their programming, help them to, you know, strategically plan long-term, help us look at how, you know, if there's major shifts in like risk and protection, you know, for us to step back and go, why is that, right? And for that district to make some really good decisions based on this data. And that's really what this is about, okay? It's not about, oh my gosh, longitudinal data. It's about going, okay, we know the pandemic happened, you think, right? But it's about going, okay, where are we going now? And so I think that's really getting that district to think about, it's not about, I think sometimes we get into that, oh my gosh, we can't affect our goal. Well, the reality is you need to know where you're going, right? If that goal needs to change, or if we need to focus our efforts a little bit more. So again, these are some questions just for you to think about in the long term of where we need to go. Okay, so I'm looking at my time here and I'm going to speed up here a little bit, but one thing to think about with online surveying, and it's going to be very, very important this time for us to think about where online participation is always important, and it's always going to be important, or online participation is always going to increase. You can see over the time throughout the years, it has increased incrementally. And this year, our current registrations, we had expected over 80%, and we have met our expectations. Most everyone is doing online registration. If your school district has not done online before, and they have, Bach Harrison is here to help. There's a lot of reference documents on the PAYS.gov space that you can get assistance with. Also, and I'm going to give you an email that you can get some help if you have not signed up that way, but I'm going to get you there. There's also a PAYS recorded coordinator training available as well if someone needs some help with that. One of the things that there are some possible related survey challenges that school districts you need to be aware of. The YRBS is also going to be implemented potentially during this time. Normally it's given in the spring of odd years, but because of COVID, they've had to bump it during this time. It's not going to affect every school because the sample is very small. But right now, Department of Health contractors that are contracted through the Department of Health are reaching out to some districts. But that survey window is actually through the end of the year. The PAYS window ends on November 19th. So there's some opportunities there for districts who are asked to participate in YRBS that they can do both of the data sets of both surveys are very important. And we can absolutely, if a district needs help and some ideas of how they can do both, absolutely, we are here to help, to help them figure that out. I've already talked about the hybrid and remote learning piece. There was also someone had mentioned that the possibility some districts were given the option to delay their PSSAs last year through this first semester. I have not heard of any districts who have actually taken that option, but that may be out there. So if you hear of that, that was an option that was given to districts. So again, I haven't heard of any who have taken that, but that could be a possible one of the challenges back to our earlier questions of why they haven't opted to do it. So again, if you hear of challenges that you come up against and you're like, I don't know how to answer this, reach out to us. We are here to help. My email was listed in the beginning. Send me a note because, we possibly have already heard it, but we are glad to brainstorm with you on some opportunities. So again, here is just a good checklist for you to kind of think about some big questions. Did they participate in 19? Are they registered? And here's some game changer questions to check into, to look at before you reach out, just to kind of see why haven't they registered yet, and being able to answer that why will really help you a lot. So again, I want to check in really quickly, looking at our time here. It seems like, thank you, Sophia, putting in a lot of the Airtable list. Thank you for that, Sophia. Appreciate that. Sophia's going to send a copy. Thank you, Rose, for giving that information. Lots of good information getting in here. Great. Do school districts understand that data PAYS provide can help district resources their community to help contend? We hope so, Fitzroy. That's really one of the things, and I think, Fitzroy, that's a really great example of why going in and engaging with districts and really getting them to understand, how that data can help, beyond the school building doors, right? Can help build those relationships and help them understand how that it's not how, like, and I have to give a lot of props to Pedro Rivera, who he was the secretary of PDE, and to use his words, while the school should be or can be the hub of the community, it should not be the spoke, the rim, and the tire, right? And so using that analogy and really, I think building on that is exactly what you're talking about. And I think PAYS is the exact bridge for all of that. So anything else I think that we're looking at? There are some school districts there are some districts who are doing, most school districts do passive consent. There are a very small number who do active consent, it's a very, very small number who do active consent, Lee. It's not something that most districts do passive, and some who do active consent, we have some guidance on how to help them do that, especially some new guidance on how to use technology to do that, so it's not such a paper shuffle. But I will say I don't have any exact explicit data on the percentage, but it is very, very low. I'm talking like single-digit percentage low. Most everybody does passive. I think that's got us caught up. So, oops, sorry about that. So, thinking about kind of what's new for 2021. We have some really neat new opportunities. We are asking some new questions on the survey. We're asking some COVID-19 questions as well as some remote learning questions. You see an asterisk there. These questions are only being asked for those who are participating online. And the reason for that is, and I know everyone's going to ask, is it's basically down to cost. Because being able to change the whole survey design and all of that, it was just not possible to do with paper. So we decided to only do it online for those. And since most everyone's participating online, it's worked out great. But those COVID-19 questions are asked both from a position of how has COVID negatively affected you, but also some questions around has it positively affected you from the standpoint of you had more time to eat dinner with your family, you had time to do more positive things, play games, spend more positive time together. So some of those questions, again, kind of in that protective factor space as well. The remote learning questions asked all of these questions were approved by PDE, and they were very glad that we asked these questions because they had not found a mechanism to be able to ask these questions of districts. So we are working with them to be able to produce a report statewide, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The only other edit and addition is we added other as an option in the gender selection to all of the different surveys. For 2023, we will be exploring some of the other gender identification and some of the other surveying methodologies as far as it comes looking at gender and some of the other things that we will take a look at a little more deeply for 2023. But for this year, there were very few edits except for these questions that were added and this other selection here. So as far as the new offerings, this is pretty exciting. We really, we were excited again to be able to ask these new questions of the district. This really being able to work with PD. We have had a really strong relationship working with them about these, and they were super excited to be able to gather this information and feel that districts are going to be really excited about that. We're also excited that with online sites, we were able to institute skip logic. So if a student answers that they've never tried a certain substance, then they'll be able to skip certain all the questions that would be related to that, which helps reduce the time that it takes for them to participate, which is also very exciting, which reduces that surveying time, which we also feel that that schools will be very excited about. We also, for districts who participate online, and this is a biggie, we will be releasing an early highlight report that will come out in the 1st of December. And with this report, it will include all of the information from the COVID responses, as well as the remote learning questions. And there'll be a few other questions that relate to mental health, some of the other questions that relate to some food insecurities, and some other things that were related to the experience that youth have had over the course of the past year. So we're looking to roll that out actually in our December 1st, first Wednesday at 1 webinar. So y'all will be the first to see it. And this will be only available to those online. So again, a really good reason that if you for school districts to do it online, and if your district has not done it online, and I'll talk about this in a minute, they can switch, and I'll tell you how here in a second. The other great thing with this is we just found out that for every county that has at least 2 or more districts participating online, we will have a county report that will be released early with this information included. So again, a wealth of knowledge, you know, and Fitzroy, back to your question, this will give those community members an opportunity to see this information that's coming out as well at the district level. So, and this will be a culmination of all of the districts that participate in the county. So super excited for those online sites to receive this information. And then we also, for all the participating sites, there's going to be a new tool that will roll out, which is going to be a cross tabulation tool, which for those of you who are familiar, there is one of those available, but it is only for at the state level and county level kind of information. Well, now there's going to be one that's available for school district information. It's going to be password protected, and it's going to be a place where districts they can go in and they can cross tab this information and you know, really look at data in a different way, you know, and take a kind of drill down into that data and really have a better understanding of how, you know, one data point relates to another. And so that will actually be working with districts actually in our June webinar, where we will be training districts on how to use that tool. And we will then, they will also be able, another release will also be that there will be a multi-year cross-tab report option where you'll be able to produce over the course of multiple years, kind of looking at different tabulations of how different points kind of pull together and what they look like over time. So some really neat ways to drill down into your data, because one of the things that we have found over the course of the year, and we're so proud of the field and how districts and with their community partners have all learned to use this data much more effectively and really have started using this data in a way that and have become very savvy. So we just wanted to get in a space where we're giving you the tools that can help you to drill into that data and just really start using that data in a way that is user friendly, but in a way that can drill you down and really help you tell your story in a better way. So super excited about all of this. But one of the things that I definitely want to say, and I think that if your school district, and I want to say this before we do this poll real quick, if your school district has not signed up online, you can reach out to, and if you can, Sophia or Kelsey, I will say, Kelsey, you can reach out to Mary at Bach Harrison. The superintendent of that district can change to online with no problem whatsoever. And they can email Mary directly. And Kelsey, can you put in Mary's email in the chat? I thought I had a slide on there and I think it didn't make the cut, but excuse me. And Mary, that's all the superintendent has to do and they will switch them from paper to online participation. And the cool thing is we have seen a pretty good significant number of folks switching from paper pencil to online, because one of the things that we know is that when they start seeing some of the cool things that they can receive being online, folks, it's really enticed school districts to make the change. So I want to have, and I don't know, Sophia or Kelsey, one of y'all, can you open up a poll? Because I've got my screens all over the place here. There you go. I want y'all to answer of the things I kind of went through really quickly. And actually, I'm going to go back one slide, if it'll let me. Let me get my slide here. I'm on here. Well, oops. There we go. Of what's listed on the screen, if you can just select, there you go. Kind of get an idea of what y'all think the districts are going to. Cool. Awesome. So we're kind of have those multi-year reports. So it's really looking at the COVID questions. Love it. Awesome. And that cross-tab report. And that's two of the things we're really excited about too. So thank y'all for doing the report. That's kind of our big winners, and the rest are kind of spread out amongst the three. So that's really interesting. Thank y'all for doing that for us. So we appreciate that. And I'm going to send that information back to PASAG. Sophia and Kelsey and I'll make sure we get that back to our PASAG group. So just closing out. Oh, here was the slide. I knew it was in there somewhere. So make sure, as I said, that they can change in letting them know where we go. So just really quickly, are there new? We've got about 5 minutes left. So what are some questions that I missed along the way, Kelsey, Sophia, that y'all had and that I missed that we'd like to bring up? And if someone would like to bring up their own question as we go through, if there were any questions y'all didn't answer along the way.
I can see one here from Amy. Advice for students who speak other languages or those with difficulty reading and electronically surveying. Can it be read to them?
Yes, anyone who has an accommodation already, if there's an IEP in place, that accommodation will be met, first of all. Second of all, the survey is already in Spanish. And if it's in other languages, or if they do it online, there is the translator that will come into play there. So I believe that yes is handled. So yes, the school district will take will make sure all of that happens. So that definitely should happen at the school district level. And if they need some assistance with that, again, please have them reach out to us for sure. What else? Great question. Thank you. Other questions? Sharpening the pay saw. That's a good one, Fitzroy. The paper pencil, different students in class had different versions. Is it the same for online? There are there's three different versions of the paper pencil. The online version is the same. There are three different versions that will a student doesn't know which version they're getting, and online will just pull it up as it goes, if that's what you're asking. Susan, is that answering your question? You can unmute and ask. I think, can they unmute? Do they have that ability?
I think you have the opportunity to unmute. Maybe if somebody in the chat can let us know if you're able to unmute or not.
Susan, can you unmute and let us know if we results.
So what I'm asked, can you hear me?
Yes.
What I'm wondering is if it's in a special education classroom, if the teacher would be able to read the survey to all students. In the past, they couldn't do that unless I made sure I gave everybody the same version. So if all the students are taking it online and the teacher wanted to read the questions aloud, is that something that can happen?
I don't know, because the way the online version comes out, and Kelsey, jump in here, because the way it's not like a sign, the computer just generates an A version, B version, C version. So I don't know if the student could, I don't know if the teacher could just read one version out loud. You know, is that correct, Kelsey?
Yeah. So it rotates to try to keep, when people are surveying, keep it all confidential so they're not getting the same questions at the same time. So the online version would make it hard. But if you had just one class in the school that you needed to have it all the same, then we would just mail out paper surveys for that class, and you could do online for the rest of the school if you'd like.
Okay, I'll have to ask the teachers. I know in the past we had a few classes where the teachers read it out loud.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Let's talk about that, because because then that information would not be included in that report and they wouldn't get the COVID questions, Kelsey.
Right.
Susan, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that one.
Okay.
It's a great question. Let's see if we can, and Kelsey, let's talk to Mary about that. It's a great question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Questions? So any other questions that y'all have, please make sure that you send them on to us. Let me share my screen again really quickly. One of the things that we are here to answer your questions. As I said, our emails are listed in the beginning, and please reach out. You can also go to the EPIS site. There's a place to pose a question there. We definitely want to hear from you. Here is a listing. I wanted y'all just take a look at it really quickly. These are the dates of the upcoming series topics. As we said, when you registered, you only need to register one time. You'll use the same registration link, which is one of the things that we're kind of testing out to see if that makes it easier for folks. And we'll just send you reminders for each one. Here are the dates for them, and here's the topics that we've sort of decided on. In your evaluation, after each one, you will be asked, hey, have you had any ideas about some cool presentations we should do? Please put in your ideas, because we really do want to hear from you. These were just ideas we were brainstorming about. The only ones that are definite are December 1st, when we will, as I said, release the special report, and then also on June 1st, when we will release the cross-tab training tool, which will be a required training for school districts in order to be able to have access. And we're still trying to work out that process a little bit for sure, but definitely mark your dates. We hope you can attend in person. We hope, as we kind of get to know each other and we kind of work out all of the, all of the process with all of these, that we make these more interactive. This one was a lot of talking to you, but as we get into these, we're hoping that we can, the presenters are give you a lot of information, and we give you a lot, but that we get to know each other, and we greatly appreciate you getting in the chat room and asking questions, and really, because we learn from you too, because you ask really great questions. We also hope, and just want to share with you, that you fill out our evaluation. As I said, Sophia's going to put the link in the chat, and then it will also, you'll have an automatic generated link sent to you as well, straight from Zoom. So please let us hear from you. We really do want to work through these and work with you and make them as valuable as possible. Here's the website I was talking about. It's the EPIS site. If you want to pose a question there,